Everybody can sit in a world when they say, oh, I should have known better. You should have known better. And I can give you a 2-minute soundbite and you'll understand it. It all makes sense. But you live in that experience for 5 years is completely different. Just because we think we're smart, because we think we're wise, life isn't always that obvious. And even when we know a certain action will have unfavourable consequences, we don't in that moment understand the experience of those consequences. I really screwed up my own life back in 2004. I got arrested. I nearly went to prison. I ended up bankrupt. I knew in some capacity, I knew that all of that was a risk. What I didn't know was what the experience of living with those consequences would be. And this is really, I suppose, the true meaning of hindsight. People gain wisdom through the errors they make, the mistakes they've made. But it's not the error, it's not the mistake, it's the consequences of living with it. When you knock something down and all you're left with is rubble, you feel terribly exposed. And you have to rebuild something. And you sometimes rebuild with no foundations. You rebuild in a clumsy way. You don't always know what you're doing. And it's very easy for everybody to criticize. It's very easy for everybody to look at you and say, you should have known better. You will look at yourself and say, you should have known better. And you did, and you do know better. But you haven't lived with the experience of the consequences. And it's the experience of consequences that make you pull back from erratic decisions. It's the experience of consequences that makes you take a different path, make a different choice. Because it's very easy to look back and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. You weren't in a position to look back then. You were looking forward. And with that point of view, what could go wrong? The consequences. That's what went right. The consequences. And they unfolded perfectly. And that happens to everybody in life. Whether you're cheating on a spouse, ripping off a job, driving too fast 24/7, whatever. Burning the candle at both ends. It's the experience of consequences that change our judgment. And that's how we make our future choices. Don't be too hard on yourself, because even though you can sit there and say, I should have known better. You're right, you should have. But based on what? You now know better because you experienced the consequences.